What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Alex Cuesta Show. How is everybody doing out there on this Wednesday, July 12th of 2023? Before we get into all the fun stuff, like, share, follow, subscribe, rate 5-star Spotify and iTunes, spread this word of mouth. Find us on the socials at the Alex Cuesta Show. Just go search for it. You'll see a very bland, plain black and white logo that just says the Alex Cuesta Show. What do you know? Dave, I'm stuck with you tonight. Kind of sucks.
I know it's ridiculous, and I just got very sad because I broke a small plastic thing that really doesn't mean anything, but I didn't want to break it. Now I'm not happy about it.
You're like a small child that like fiddles with something, and they fiddle with it and they fiddle with it, and then when it actually breaks, they get upset about the thing that they were causing to break. Like that.
Yes,
that's your problem. 100%
yes, that's very accurate, but it's still annoying that it broke. I'm gonna keep it for a while now because I don't want to let it go.
I don't think that's true. I think you will get rid of it. So, Dave, you had your first homeowner issue, and you were really going through it last night. And I actually felt terrible for you.
Yeah, pretty bad clog. I literally put 25 feet of auger into my toilet, and that didn't
He takes
seem to
giant
work.
poops.
I don't believe that's what it was, actually. I believe it was my hair, which I now got a hair trap to make sure it's not that if it is. But yeah, I got it solved today myself, luckily. So I didn't want to pay a plumber. And even if the easy solution that I did with like the liquid stuff didn't work, I was probably going to take the toilet off myself, and just that was going to be my night until this recording.
Why are you dumping hair into your toilet?
I'm not. It's my shower.
That makes sense. You do have a luscious lock of hair that is, doing things over there. And now you're growing your beard out again. I don't know what you're doing with yourself.
I need to trim my hair, which I might get our previous hairdresser mother to do that. So
well, just don't do it in your shower.
No, I won't do it there.
Don't cut it in your shower. All right. So this week we have no guest. We were supposed to have one. And every once in a while, scheduling conflicts happen. Things come up. But I am talking to this guest, and we might get a bonus episode this week. So look out for that. We should at some point this week. I think this weekend we are looking to record with them. So I am excited for that. So anyone that's listening, it would be the appropriate time to turn off the podcast now. But I think we've held you for like 5 minutes, so it probably counts for a listen, right, David? I don't know what the number is when it counts for a listen, but I think we might have talked enough to get that. I think it might be there.
I don't know. I have no idea. I can't remember. I've heard it before, but I'm not in the game enough to know how many minutes it is. And I know that you're disappointed about that because it feels like I'm not in the game at all.
Well, I mean, you're actually supposed to be my fact checker. Like, these are actually the reasons why I keep you around, to know these types of things.
I do it sometimes.
And you're useless. But overall, yeah, so we will have a guest next week. But today, as always, we have a fun show ahead of us. We want to talk about some things. We're going to talk about Sound of Freedom, the response to it. We're going to talk about Deadpool 3, some of the speculation going on there, and our New York Jets being chosen for Hard Knocks. We're going to jump on that, and whatever else pops into our heads, we might just talk about, because, Dave, we have a show, and it's our show, and we get to throw it back to what we used to do with Quest the Dough style, where we would just talk a whole bunch of topics. So let's jump right into the first one. Sound of Freedom is a box office hit, Dave, and it's actually surprising that this movie has made it an indie film, $14-15 million budget.
Yep.
Is now sitting at making almost $50 million.
I think they're at 45 right now.
45, but I thought they just added another 3.8, so I thought that would put them closer to.
I think the 45
50.
was with the 3.8.
45 was with it.
I think so.
Well, regardless, they're going to clear $50 million for an indie easily and triple their numbers. Now, if anyone doesn't know what Sound of Freedom is, it is a movie that it's something that I don't know if we've talked about Operation Underground Railroad.
Actually, wait a second. I lied. It's at 49.
49, so I was correct. I thought the 45 was the Monday number.
Yeah.
So it added. Okay. But I don't know, Dave. I don't know. Have we ever talked about Operation Underground Railroad on the show?
Might have a long time ago,
Maybe.
but
Maybe
not
so.
recently.
I'll reiterate. So, Operation Underground Railroad. I don't know what role Tim Ballard plays. I think he might be their founder or something. He is
Sure, Tim's the founder.
think Tim's the founder, and he works closely with Nazarene Fund as well. And what it is Tim is a former Department of Justice and military guy, and he was on a mission to infiltrate, and then he saw a child sex ring going on during his mission, and he was told to stand down, and he couldn't go and help these kids. And from that moment, he decided, fuck this. I am not doing that. I'm going to follow my orders. I'm going to do what I have to do, but I'm done with this. I'm not doing it again. And that was the rise of Operation Underground Railroad, where him, along with other operators and experts in extraction and, military tactics of, getting in espionage, things like that, do missions to go infiltrate child sex rings, child slavery rings, and release these kids. And they work with local governments. They work with other nations. And they are, and I guess for an NGO, for a lack of a better term, I think that's what they would qualify as, an NGO charity foundation. And they're quite literally superheroes. They put themselves in harm's way, and they go and they free kids that would otherwise be stuck in a life of child sex slavery. So they're modern day slaves. And I mean, doing things that I think, as you grow up as a young man, like saving people, the only thing that, a lot of young boys think about, like saving the damsel in distress and things like that, or being a superhero when it's time to do it. And Tim Ballard and his operators do it. Now, with that's an organization that I've supported, and plenty of times, Facebook lets you donate to charities and things like that. They don't have the Nazarene Fund on there, but they have Operation Underground Railroad, and I always do that as my birthday fundraiser. And hopefully my contributions have helped them do some of this stuff. Now, Sound of Freedom. It is a movie based off of one of the missions that Tim Ballard went on.
Well, it's based off the beginning.
It's the beginning of it.
Yes, it's the beginning. It's the beginning of his story of why he started doing Operation Underground Railroad.
Yeah,
and why he got into that business in the first place, because he didn't plan on doing it. He just planned it on being a Homeland Security guy. Yep. But he saw what these kids are going through, and at least in the movie, it's probably still based on what actually happened. But one of the kids that he ends up saving first says, "Hey, my sister's also taken. Can you go find her?" And I believe that's what kind of set it all off.
Yeah, that makes sense. If you've ever heard Tim speak, and Tim, if you happen to listen to this at all, we would love to have Tim Ballard on the show. That would be an incredible interview. He's just a miraculous human being, and it's a movie that, from everything I've heard, I haven't seen it yet. I know David hasn't seen it. I plan on seeing it. I'm hopefully gonna see it in theaters soon. But from everything I've heard, from everything I've read, from start to finish, you are a ball of emotion. The opening scenes apparently have legitimate videos of children being abducted during the opening credits. And I'm not spoiling anything. I think it's pretty widespread, some of these things. And you don't get to see the acts. You don't get to see things happening, but you get very strong inferences, and you know exactly what is going on at times. So it's a powerful movie. I think it's an important movie. Now, Dave, talk about some of the box office numbers that, this did. It was released on the 4th of July, if I'm, on that Tuesday. Yep. So talk about what it's done since then. We're now sitting at the 12th.
So for those that don't know, this, Nick, he said, came out 4th of July, and it actually dethroned Indiana Jones 5 for number 1 on the 4th of July with a $14 million opening, making up its budget for the most part right there in its release day.
And being fair to Indiana Jones did have a weekend release, so they were on the backswing of the weekend. Now they shouldn't be losing this movie, but just being fair, it's not like they were released at the same exact time and it beat them out, right? I'm just being fair.
Yeah, no, that's 100%. No, that's very fair. But it did dethrone it for number 1 that day, and ever since then, really, it's been making basically $4 million every day, at least tracking wise, if you look at it. In fact, it got up to 7 million just Saturday and Sunday, and actually, I believe it took over the number one spot again Monday and Tuesday with 4 million and 3.8. So it's tracking very well. The legs on this movie is damn good for an indie movie that didn't have a big budget. And it seems like word of mouth. I mean, obviously, we want to go see it now, but it's going around, and everyone's finding out about this movie in some way. And I think one of the number one telling things for me is that now I've heard that it's not like a movie you're going to sit with your popcorn and enjoy the movie. No, it's going to be a little unpleasant to kind of sit through some of these things.
I've heard everyone say that they've seen it, that they have cried at one point in the movie.
But I did hear that this is not just, this is a good message type of movie. No, it's actually a good movie. I've heard that it's good, and there's some flaws because every movie has that, and especially indie movies are going to have that. But I've heard that it's just genuinely a good movie. The acting's pretty good, and
it's Jim Caviezel. Jim Caviezel's fantastic.
Yeah. And the pacing's pretty good. Like a lot of it has sounded to be like you could sit there and watch it, and I mean, it might bring you through a lot, but it's not to the point. It's not like, this, like, it was just a good message. No, you're actually experiencing a movie that you might not want to watch again, but you could watch again because it is good.
Yeah, for everything I've heard, the cinematic quality is right up there with any movie that you're going to see produced from Hollywood. So, it's good in that sense. And Dave, I think it's nice to see another movie, and now they call this a conservative movie. They call it a religious movie, but it is a movie from somebody and people that do have more conservative values. Jim Caviezel is not
Angel Studios.
Angel Studios, they don't hide behind the fact that they are on the right. Mel Gibson widely praised it. You have people like Mark Wahlberg and things like that have been said good things about it.
Kevin James
has said good things about it. And these are people that, some of them that you don't know lean right, but they do tend to lean right, and Hollywood people are kind of quiet about it outside of a few. But it's overall a good movie, and it's nice to see movies like this, movies like Steve Dace's Nefarious, that did very well apparently. And I didn't know the premise was 4 people sitting in a room basically the whole time, and it grips you. That seems fun. So it's just nice to see. And I know I listen to Tim Pool a good amount. Tim Pool talks about the cultural relevance of these things all the time. It's nice to see good movies being made that push a message that is culturally important initially to those on the right. And now we're seeing something like this. This is not a right-left issue. No. This is a human issue. And if you are a human and you believe that children should not be raped and sold to be raped again for a perpetual existence of being raped and abused and sex slavery, and also being used as drug smugglers, and also being trafficked and being passed on to another grown man once they get past the border, sent back over the border, brought again. These are all the things these kids are subjected to. And this is just one thing that the movie is showing about the actual sex slavery life. And if it's probably not something you want to see, but it's one of those things that you should see, because it's very easy to write off when you just read an article about it, when you just hear about it. But to see something, and yes, there are obviously probably some dramatizations and liberties taken to, bring it up. It is a drama. It is a, cop drama, a heist drama, things like that. But this is based off a real story, and very closely, because Tim Ballard was involved with the making of this. The guy that actually did it was heavily involved. So, Dave, we had a lot of really stupid people in the media. Now, the media is stupid as it is. Leftist media has gotten bad, and, I will continue to always say, I don't call it corporate media. A lot of people call it corporate media. That is giving them too much credit, that they are only corporate, and that's why, because it sells. There are leftists all over the media, so I call them leftist media. And the leftist media has had quite the response, Dave. Yahoo Entertainment wrote in an article today by E.J. Dixon, living up to his name. It's a Rolling Stone article, actually. Rolling Stone, there we go. This is great. Why anti-trafficking experts are torching Sound of Freedom. Now, Dave, that just makes me shake my head. Because the person that was involved, that did the mission, is an anti-trafficking expert. I think doing extractions for now, it's got to be at least 5 or 6 years he's been doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that qualifies as an expert, not somebody sitting there opining about it, that studied about it. A guy that actually did it and went on plenty of missions, I think makes him an expert. So what are they torching it over? I haven't even read the article. It's
2013 he started Operation Underground Railroad, so 10 years ago.
Okay. So it's ridiculous that literally been in 4 different group texts about the damn movie, says Aaron Albright, an attorney who has worked in anti-trafficking space for 15 years, blah, 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 blah. The movie is grounded in a sensational perspective of what child trafficking would be rather than reflecting its grim reality. So here's a woman who apparently has worked in that space, and what she's worried about is not the message being sent across about the evils of child sex trafficking, but the fact that it wasn't real enough and that it was sensationalized, the movie. That a movie,
which is hilarious,
a little bit
people are crying in the theater.
and her caring less about how bad it is and more about so like another one. Let's see. A representative of Angel Studios did not respond to a request. However, in a blog post on its website, acknowledges biological detail that took creative liberties in depicting the different methods of child trafficking. So yeah, they admit to it. Okay. They made a movie. Let's see. What does somebody else say? Post reads, understanding, blah, blah, blah. It's ridiculous.
It is just very weird. It's very weird how it seems like there is a full force kind of attack on the movie for some reason. Now you could have a plethora of reasons. I don't necessarily need to go over why some may want to attack this movie, but yet again, from what I've heard, there is no political messaging in the movie. There is nothing where they try to bring up any political nonsense.
It's all QAnon.
Which, yet again, very funny because the QAnon craze started 4 years ago, something like that. And this movie was
Pizzagate started.
And this movie was done like
6
years ago. It's been done. It's just been in like not production, distribution hell for a while.
Dave, so, this is a good one right here, real quick. I gotta say, Teresa Heuser, CEO of the National Children's Alliance, gave a quote. Dave, it's in here. She's not seen the film yet, but was able to provide context about the myths and realities of child trafficking. So she's giving a quote about child trafficking without seeing the film. Some are throwaway kids. They are kicked out of their homes and trade sex for food and a place to stay and end up being trafficked by a pimp. In these cases, hold on. The trafficker starts out calling themselves boyfriend or girlfriend. And indeed, a large body of research shows that many child trafficking victims are LGBTQ or gender nonconforming youth who have been kicked out of their homes and forced into sex trade by somebody close to them. What does that have to do with the movie?
Absolutely nothing to do with the movie.
They're commenting on something that they don't even know about with this. Like, she just gave a generalized statement for a quote. And and here's the thing. I would save a non-binary, a gender non-conforming, a LGBTQ child from sex slavery as quickly as I would save a heterosexual, regular kid. And I say regular because they don't have a disease, a mental disorder, like the other fucking kids do. But they all deserve to be saved, regardless of whether or not they've been brainwashed into believing that they're a different gender. It is ridiculous. It is ridiculous. Oh my God. Oh, this psycho kept going. She kept going. We want to believe that people trafficking children are unknown, nefarious strangers, she says. It makes people uncomfortable to think that some of these things happen in their own communities, in their own schools, with people they might run into at the grocery store. So she's trying to say that basically she's trying to say that this movie is fabricating what occurs. When we know that kids are trafficked in other countries on the border and things like this and brought in. So, Dave, I have to ask you, why do you think they do this? Why are they trying to knock this film, who they should be praising for at least shining light on the problem that they apparently have dedicated their lives to?
Well, I think there's multiple reasons that could possibly be the reason. Jim Caviezel himself has said some things that are not exactly according to the narrative or whatever you want to say. So I think that's part of it. Angel Studios, I mean, just in name, they're never going to get much credence.
Yep.
And then also, I'm not going to lie to you, I do think a part of it is the fact that it dethroned Indy for number one.
Possibly.
Indiana Jones' budget was like 300 million, 350 is a very expensive movie that Disney needs to make money off of. Let's not forget Disney owns everything and has its hands in everything.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of helpful to have some buddies to maybe write some stories about the movie that just kicked your movie's ass for no reason.
Yep.
When it should never do that. Yet again, Indiana Jones lost to an independent movie. I know it came out the week before. That doesn't matter. You still make more than 14 million the next week. At least you should. But it just showed. But I think that's a part of it. I definitely think that's a part of it. I think Disney having friends and was most likely going to lose money on Indiana Jones might have gotten a little help writing some pieces about Sound of Freedom. But I think all of those together, they were going to label it a right-wing movie in the first place. I think the presence that it now has and the word of mouth getting around, it's just they're doing the attack they were probably going to do. It's just a lot more force than it was meant to be.
Certainly. And, when I read a little more of the article, they just continue to basically say that what goes on in the film isn't real. It's not the way kids are really trafficked. It's mostly done in the home because of their sexual orientation, because they're poor, because of political strife. Like, they're sitting there and basically saying, for a lack of a better terms, that what you are going to see on the screen is a lie, which isn't true either, because there is no one way that kids are trafficked. There is no one way. There is no set way that kids are trafficked. They are children. They are helpless. They are easy to take. And it's done in all sorts of ways. So bottom line, what Operation Underground Railroad does is they find people that need it. They hear about it and they go and they help. That's it. It's a tip. They get a tip and they go, they research it. They canvass it and they go and they help. So it's not surprising. It's not surprising, especially from a group of people, Dave, that support pedophiles. A group of people that support pedophiles, because anybody that writes this is probably heavily on the left, a leftist. And leftists are the ones trying to change the name pedophile to MAPS, minorly attracted persons. So if you support the LGBTQ plus, that plus includes MAPS, you're supporting pedophilia, whether you mean to or not. That's kind of guilt by association there. And these types of people are the type of people that would probably say that Prince Andrew's a swell guy that just made a mistake, or that we really don't know what went on in Epstein Island. We can't all be mad. We don't know. I'm making assumptions, but I'm also saying fuck these people that decide to write these type of articles, because they deserve nothing but that.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. And it really is showing how, I mean, they still have impact, obviously, but it really is showing how much impact that they've lost, because there's so many people. I guarantee you look up any of these articles on Twitter, basically all of them are ratioed. I guarantee you look under that tweet, they're ratioed by multiple people, because people are sick of it. They're done with the way a lot of the media is speaking about things, because they know that they're lying about most things.
Yep.
And they know that they're lying about this movie. And for no necessary reason. For no necessary reason. It might be reasoning on their terms, which is ridiculous, but none that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. And again, there's a Daily Beast article which, not surprised, Daily Beast, written by Helen Holmes, written 43 minutes ago. What's the deal with the controversial box office hit Sound of Freedom? And what's the big deal? Why is it controversial? She like boxes it out because apparently liberals can't read long form articles. They have to have sections. And one of them is, why is it controversial? Basically, because the plot of the film inflames ingrained QAnon conspiracies that massively overinflate the statistical realities of child sex trafficking, according to Rolling Stone. Helen, can you reread that fucking sentence? Reread it. Whether it is massively overinflated, why is that a problem? Why is it a problem if the statistics are over, under, which just be on the side of doing something about it? Like, you are a bad person. Like, do you not realize that you are a bad human, that if you are sitting there not giving a shit about the message of the film? I don't care if this whole film was 100% fake and all they were doing was trying to send across a message, how the evil of child sex trafficking. If your response to that is, well, they got some statistics wrong and they took some liberties to make it look better for screen, then you're a fucking loser. And you support child sex trafficking and pedophilia, and there's no other where to put you. There's no place else to put you besides there.
Yeah, it is just odd. That's what it is. It's odd to say these things because
they're in a cult, Dave. They are in a cult.
Some of the articles, where it's like, oh, what, like she just brought up, oh, it's a QAnon conspiracy type of thing, which, yet again, I haven't seen it, but from every review I've heard, there's no mention of like a satanic sex cult. There's no mention of that. There's no mention of, oh, it's a bunch of elite Democrats. No, there's no mention of that. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's done in a South American country. Like, that's where, I can't remember exactly where. It might be Brazil, but I can't remember exactly where, but it's in a South American country that this is happening and that they go to save this child and save many children. That's the whole point of the story. There is nothing to do with like, oh, it's the elites doing this and then they're the ones taking your children. No, none of that's said in the movie. It's just like, oh, this is what happened and that's why he wants to go on this mission.
And, and I'm sorry, I'm not a QAnon person. I'm not here defending QAnon. I think most QAnon people are fucking retarded.
Yeah, I know nothing about it because I don't care.
But one of the things that QAnon talked about was celebrities being pedophiles. That's how Pizzagate all got started. Now, Pizzagate's stupid. But we did find out about Epstein Island. We did find out about the Lolita Express. Ghislaine Maxwell, I know her name isn't Ghislaine. Ghislaine Maxwell is sitting in prison because she was getting children to an island to be raped by rich and powerful people.
By someone. We don't know who. By someone.
By Bill Clinton and Prince Andrew, definitely, because they were on the fucking plane so many times. And if Donald Trump, his records are there. If Donald Trump went to the island, he can burn in fucking hell too, okay? So here's the thing. And here's the thing with Q. Some of the shit, most of their shit is outlandish. But there are some things where the base has some plausibility.
Well, that's every conspiracy theory.
And then they QAnon themselves and go fucking crazy.
Yeah, that is everything that is the genuine conspiracy theory.
No. The JFK Jr. returning from the dead to crown Trump.
Well, that's part of Q, though. That's part of Q.
It's crazy,
but that's the crazy part. but every
basis for that conspiracy.
No. But what I'm saying is every conspiracy theory usually has a basis where it's like there's some truth to it, and then there's connections that are made that are just out there. But there is obviously some truth to the fact that Epstein was doing things to young women, to kid women, as well. Anyway, to girls, but. He was doing these things, and he was doing these things with other people.
Yes.
Those that we do not know yet.
We're not allowed to know, apparently, because
exactly
right now, there are people sitting in Congress that would be on Ghislaine Maxwell's list because they sat there for 50, 40, 30 years. They all knew who this guy was. They all rub elbows at the same place. And you have to question any representative from each side that ever votes against this. And the fact that I question all of them, that there has not been a bill brought up daily to force the records of the direct flights to the island. I question every single one in there. They all need to be primaried and kicked out.
But that's the thing is, if you're just a reasonable minded person, you could say, yeah, no, it's weird, it's messed up, and if we need to find out what the hell happened with this damn island because that's a genuine issue. And obviously, people go to extremes because they're not getting any answers. They just go to the extremes of what the fuck they think might be happening.
But they're all plausible now because for how long was Alex Jones called a psycho for talking about this exact island?
Mm-hmm.
I think he even mentioned the Lolita Express. Alex Jones is not always right. Alex Jones has been right about a ton. And if you can't acknowledge that, then you're a dumbass.
Right about too
Alex
much.
Jones has been right about a lot. There was the turning the frogs gay was a great meme until we found out that the drugs that they were using to test on the frogs actually turned them into homosexual frogs. So he was right about the most ridiculous meme that is made about him. But I'm going to give credit where credit is due, Dave. I went in and I found this fact check article from Newsweek. And normally Newsweek and fact check, when it comes to anything conservative, always leads to a really dumb conclusion. But they did not this time. So the fact check was, did Disney own Sound of Freedom's rights? Because that has been going around. A lot of conservative places are talking about the fact that Disney had it. They sat on it. They didn't release it. Angel Studios bought it up and it got made. So the fact check.
No, it was Angel Studios. It was Angel Studios film in the first place. It was under Fox.
Yes.
When Disney bought Fox, that's when they got the rights to it. And then they just never put it out. I also read that Angel Studios tried to put it to Amazon, tried to put it to Netflix. They put out feelers to try to get them to distribute it. They both said no.
They just said fuck it and made it themselves.
Basically.
So the fact check was going around to see whether or not that was true. And all things, they go through the whole thing, but their fact check ends up with saying the ruling is that it was true. Disney had it. Yeah. They got it in 2019 when they acquired Fox, and they sat on it. One of the representatives said that, the timing was bad when they wanted to release it. COVID hit. And he was quoted at saying, let's see, they said the timing was perfect. They believe the movie would have come out earlier. Don't think the audience was ready. Right now, there's advertisement for this film, but on the wrong side. Every day, there are these atrocities happening in the news everywhere. Children trafficked, sexually abused children all over the place. And so, basically saying that the distractions going on during COVID would have not have done it justice. Are they correct? Maybe that is the correct stance. But what we know about Disney now, they didn't want to release it because they like maps, which are pedophiles.
I think, they don't exactly deserve the benefit of the doubt, but benefit of the doubt.
No,
I think there is an argument that could be said that, Disney themselves as a company most likely aren't going to put out a movie like this in the first place because it is a different theme than what Disney's usually going for. Yes. But also if, timing wasn't right, COVID hit and everything like that, I could see why you wouldn't put it out. But obviously with the way Disney's been acting, it's perfectly reasonable to think the way to say what you said. But, if you want to be as reasonable as possible for why they haven't, you could see the reasons why they wouldn't.
No reasonability. They like child sex trafficking and they support pedophilia. Fuck Disney. They've ruined everything that I've enjoyed. Anyway, we're going to jump into something, David, you and I both enjoy and have pleasantly been surprised by how well it has been done. Deadpool 3 is coming out. I'm excited for it. There is one thing I am not excited for, Dave. I heard they're not letting Ryan Reynolds ad-lib this time around.
They can't.
Why can't?
So because of the strike, they technically can't.
Who cares?
Listen, it's not me. I don't know a crazy amount about this, but because of the strike, I think if he kind of ad-libbed and did things, it wouldn't look good and it would go against a lot of things. It'd probably cause too much of an uproar that they don't want to fucking deal with. So he's not going to be able to ad-lib very much at all. Let's be honest. I don't know if they're trying to do things and they think they might work. Maybe they'll try to find a loophole to try to fucking change shit. But from what I know, he can't really ad-lib very much.
Here's the loophole. Hire non-woke assholes, people that aren't assholes. Hire people that aren't woke, that aren't going to do this. A strike is one thing. They're begging to get paid. They have made absolute dog shit films and TV shows for the last decade, outside of maybe Deadpool 1 and 2 and a few, ones. So, you know what, writers? You don't deserve to get paid more. But I digress. We're going to talk actually about Deadpool. So it's been obviously confirmed. Hugh Jackman is in it. Hugh Jackman is in it. he's Wolverine. We're all giddy, Dave, because there was a picture from the set with Ryan Reynolds in the full Deadpool gear, and then Hugh Jackman, who I have to say is looking as jacked as ever, in the yellow with the blue accented Wolverine costume.
Yeah.
And I'm fucking pumped for it, Dave.
Yeah. The only thing is he does have sleeves on. He doesn't have a mask on, but it's just a still from the movie. So obviously I would think that they have the mask on him at one point. They better have the mask on him at one point.
I'd imagine they put it on him.
Yeah. He might not have the sleeves off, but he should definitely have the mask on at some point. If he doesn't, that is a tragedy.
You don't want the hair that serves as the mask like they did in the originals?
No.
It was
even though Hugh didn't, that Wolverine's still fucking great. Like Hugh Jackman knocked it out of the park. Absolutely. But if you're gonna bring anything with the old costume back, you got to put the mask on at least at some point. Yeah, but it looked good. It definitely caused a stir that we might actually get something good out of Deadpool 3. There is worry, obviously, if you can't ad lib.
I mean, it is maintaining the rated R rating, which I know Ryan Reynolds has been a stickler for, and so at least there's that we're going to actually get at, some good stuff anyway.
Yes, but you never entirely know what you're going to get out of another sequel in a franchise, and this is also under a different producer now. It's Disney. It's actually, I think it's technically going to be MCU.
Yep.
So it is, you never know what you're going to get with these types of things when they change. The only real constant, I believe, is just Ryan Reynolds. Maybe some people that worked on the other movies, but Ryan Reynolds is the constant that we know of.
Yep.
And the good thing is he seems to really want to fight for this character. He seems to love Deadpool. He seems to want to make it right. So you can at least put a little bit of trust in him. But having this picture come out, that looks really good. We have heard of some of the cameos that are coming. I know Jennifer Garner is going to reprise her role as Elektra, and I believe there's a couple more. I would love to see some other ridiculous cameos, which we might get, because from what it seems like, this is going to be a multiverse movie, most likely making fun of multiverse, which is exactly what Deadpool should do. And it could be a really, really good time. I don't know how many of them are going to die, because I can expect that to happen, especially like seeing Brad Pitt randomly die as Invisible Man in the second movie. But we should be getting some fun from it. Is it going to be a great movie? I don't know. Is it going to be as good as the other two? Because the first one is fantastic. The second one is pretty good, at least. And in this one, it could be good, especially right now. I think a lot of people are tired of the multiverse stuff. They don't exactly want it, a la The Flash and how it's doing. The box office was box office wise, and now probably going to be streaming wise.
Yep.
But people don't very much want what's being given out right now. So being able to come out with something that's a good parody, hopefully, in a way, or a good satire, might make him a good amount of money. I believe the first two movies both made 750 million. So this one might be able to make some money. I know the budget's more on this. The budget's more on like every damn Hollywood movie now, but I'm excited to see what happens. I'm not exactly hopeful it's going to be as good as the other two, but I want to see what they can pull out of this.
Rumors have Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen back to reprise their roles as Professor X and Magneto, which you mix that in with, and I think that's great because you have Hugh Jackman there, right? So you're bringing back, his original Professor X and his biggest nemesis being a metal man and a master of magnetism there.
And you also know that
Deadpool being a dickhead. So
this is going to be a riff from like the last two where he's making fun of how there's no X-Men in the giant mansion because they couldn't afford them, and now they can.
Yes. And, and last time you saw the new cast, the new Professor X and everything, and now we're getting some old. So there's definitely going to be a play off that. Who else would you like to see? I personally have said I want to see Spider-Man in there somehow, because if anyone knows the comics, Spider-Man is the only one that's actually nice to Deadpool, maybe aside from Steve Rogers, is because Steve's always like, you could just be better, stop being an asshole. But Spidey's actually like fairly nice to him, and Deadpool, as he always does, takes it way too far and becomes the most annoying person on the planet and creates a bromance that is only one-sided with Spider-Man, and I would love to see something like that play out. Which Spider-Man would you want to see join?
Personally, I mean, because I love Toby, I want to see Toby. Andrew Garfield would be fine, but I want to see Toby. I don't think Tom Holland's going to be in it. I just don't for some reason. I don't feel like he fits it. But Toby or Andrew would fit it more for me.
That, yeah, one of them. I like Toby as well because, again, I think it will go with the old school original Fox group.
Yeah, if you're going to have heroes. Hugh in there.
Yes. And, give us the crossover we all wanted with the X-Men and Spider-Man way back when, and Elektra. So I want to think, what are the other 20th century heroes? Are we going to get Daredevil?
I want Blade.
Blade.
if Wesley Snipes shows up in this movie
and they just have a sword fight for no reason.
Oh my goodness, that would be incredible.
But what about, who was that actor that played the original Daredevil? It was awful. It wasn't Brad Pitt. Was it Matt Damon?
We're gonna find out.
Go find that out. Definitely wasn't Charlie Cox. Charlie Cox is the current one,
which would be cool to see Charlie Cox in.
But I don't want the new one. I don't want the newer. I want to keep this old school because I think that this would be amazing. And I know it was a decent actor that played Deadpool too, but wasn't a great.
Oh, it was Ben Affleck.
Was it Ben Affleck?
I forgot Ben Affleck was Daredevil. Oh my god.
We could bring Ben Affleck. What are you doing, computer? Go away. We could bring Ben Affleck into this as well as Daredevil. I think they should do that. All of the old school original Fox Marvel people. I want amazing.
I would love to see, obviously they can't do a DC character, but I would love to, if it's going to be multiverse, just throw in like a random DC. It's like Superman or Batman.
No, just have him one time look in the mirror and it be friggin' Slade.
Deathstroke.
just for 2 seconds, have him look in and be Slade and just be like, wait, what? And then just look away and come back. Like, that would be an amazing cameo if they just made fun of the fact that he is Slade.
Yeah. That's the thing is they could do so much with this that it could be good. Now, writing has been generally suspect, especially around superhero movies lately.
Yeah.
So there no ad-libbing and no.
Is Ryan Reynolds a superhero? Is Deadpool a superhero?
Anti-hero. It's still hero movie. Either way. Still tights movie.
Yes. So I think the only thing that gives me faith is every single movie we've heard Ryan Reynolds has threatened to walk off because X. And it's usually because of rating change or something like that. But like you said, he's passionate about this character and he understands culturally what Deadpool means to a lot of people. And I think he gets that it's not for a young crowd, even though a young crowd enjoys it, which is why they made Once Upon a Deadpool, which was, PG rated and clean. But he understands that his general group are adults, are the 20, 30, 40, 50-year-old comic book fan that has been a fan of Deadpool for the last 40 years that Deadpool has been around, 30 years, whatever it's been for Deadpool. And he's done a great job of bringing the Merc with the mouth in. Now, I would love to see if they continue Deadpool, getting away from Marvel in general and going to do some Merc things. Go do some legitimate Deadpool things where he is the Merc with the mouth and pissing everyone off and killing marks. And
yeah, I was going to say, he needs to be killing people. He needs to be over the top, just like the other movies did. And it is good to see someone care as much about a character as like others have recently, and like Henry Cavill, and he's gotten kicked off for caring about a character like Geralt too much,
and he's like, "Fuck this, Warhammer 40K, I'm here, I love it." And he's moving on.
Yeah, but it's always good to see someone at least try to respect the character, especially with the way things are going right now.
Absolutely. So we're both excited. Dave and I have been fans of Deadpool forever. It's one of my favorite superheroes. He's right up there with Silver Surfer for me, and he always has been. Dave, I really just think it would be the ultimate if they just do Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe and just make it a movie.
I highly doubt they'll do that. That is way too dark of a comic. It's no reason for it. Good. But yeah, no. Hopefully this one's good. There's slight worry about it. This as well as Joker 2. It gives me slight worry. Yet again, hope, because I got to trust after what Joker was. You got to trust him to do something still pretty good, but it should have been a one-off, should have stayed a one-off. And the second one, listen, there's some things that could be good about it, but it just doesn't feel right now.
Last thing, there's a Harley Quinn anime coming out.
Oh, yeah, there's like an isekai
Isekai.
kind of anime coming out with Harley Quinn and Joker and stuff. I didn't see the trailer much. I just saw some pictures and like very little bits of the video on Twitter, but I didn't watch it. I don't necessarily care about it.
It looks exactly like when a Western person tries to draw an anime that doesn't truly understand what an anime is supposed to be and feel like.
I mean, listen, it could be good. There have been recent cartoons, not DC or Marvel related, but recent things like Arcane that I've heard was damn good. A cyberpunk one, which I can't remember the name of exactly right now, which I heard was damn good. I haven't watched them because I'm very bad at watching things, but from all accounts, I've heard both of those series have been fantastic, and those are cartoon. It's not necessarily anime style, but they're definitely animated, and I've heard that they're really good. So I don't know if it's by anyone that has any affiliation with them, but the style seemed close enough that maybe it could have been.
Just give us something quality. That's all we want about. Keep the characters and the spirit of the characters, and let's roll. Mm-hmm. So I want to jump to our last thing, Dave. We want to talk about our New York Jets. They have been forced to go into Hard Knocks by HBO and the NFL. I don't know the exact ruling or the exact rules, but I know it's like the bottom tier of the NFL. The teams that finish like in the bottom tier are the ones that are eligible for HBO to pick. I think it's like the bottom third. There's like a number there for HBO to pick to be on Hard Knocks. And other teams rumored, but then it became heavy that since the Jets got A-Rod, Aaron Rodgers, that HBO wants him.
Yeah.
Dave, what do you think? Are you excited? I'm going to watch it. You're going to watch it. Are you excited to see Hard Knocks?
So I believe the rules were like bottom third. It was a bottom tier teams.
Yeah.
From standings wise, and hasn't been on Hard Knocks in a while. I can't remember the exact years, but it hasn't been on Hard Knocks in a while. And really, I think it was only like the Jets and the Browns that could have been forced to do it. So
usually the same 6 teams.
Yeah. So we got it forced upon us, and obviously the Jets didn't necessarily want to do it. Otherwise, they would have accepted it in the first place. But we got it forced upon us, and I'm not really mad about it. I believe. Oh, I can't remember who it was. I don't want to get it wrong on Twitter, but they said they had said that, for all the talk about it being a distraction,
Damian Woody.
It was Damian Woody. Yep. For all the talk about it being a distraction, it was not a distraction when the Hard Knocks came to the Jets, 10 years ago?
Yeah, he said they blend in. He said the NFL
he said they're in the background. They don't say anything. They just blend in and they get their footage. And he said just go and have fun with it, because that's what they did. They had a great fucking time. And it's the most memorable Hard Knocks season ever. Absolutely. When people think of Hard Knocks, they think of Rex Ryan and the Jets when we had it.
So fucking snacks.
Exactly. So I'm fine with it. I can feel pretty good about it not being a distraction in that manner. And honestly, with the way I've heard things of coming out of camp and the way they were working out, I don't think they're going to allow it to be a distraction. Yeah. So I'm excited to watch it. We'll be able to see what comes out of it. And it would be awesome to be able to go to the playoffs again after a Hard Knocks season.
And the thing is, too, maybe before every single media team on around football and things, they do their own little docuseries. They are constantly around with their cameras, doing little mini interviews as the players walk out to practice, like all over Instagram, TikTok, whatever you're on. You can see these things. So it's not like these pro teams aren't faced with their own internal media all the time anyway. So adding the NFL media, I mean, they're pros. Right? They're pros. They deal with media, and especially New York pros. They understand media. They understand what they need to do, how they need to do it. So the distraction angle, I think, is a dumb one. I don't think it's a distraction. I just don't think the Jets wanted to be on it because
they didn't want to be on it. They did not want to be on it. And funny enough, I think part of the reason they didn't want to be on it is because One Jets Drive has done so well.
Yes.
They kind of wanted One Jets Drive to keep going with the way they're doing their episodes and their propaganda, but that's not going to be a thing with Hard Knocks.
I was going to say, are they allowed to do One Jets Drive?
I don't believe they're going to be able to do it with Hard Knocks filming everything.
Which sucks because Flight 23 has been fantastic. It's been very good. They have great interviews, and I mean, I like it better than what the Hard Knocks is amazing, but this is very similar,
Well,
and
it's personalized.
and it's told, yeah. And so we'll see. I mean, if Hard Knocks doesn't just give me full on things of Michael Clemens just attempting to eat other humans, I don't think I will be happy, because Michael Clemens is my favorite player ever right now. Like, he might in 1 year have already become my favorite Jets player of all time, just because he is an animal. And just if you think of like an evil character,
Mm-hmm.
Michael Clemens will play that guy. Like that guy that looks like he's going to eat you, and then he smiles and you're still convinced he's going to eat you. Like it's a terrifying. And I love that about him.
Very Michael Clark Duncan about him.
Yes, 100%.
Yes.
100%.
But you know, we've talked about the Jets plenty of times on here. If you can't just sit back and enjoy the season with Aaron Rodgers, with the way this Jets team is set up, just sit back and enjoy it. We get to have a Hard Knocks about us again, and one of the biggest times in a while for the Jets. So
this has to be the first time that Hard Knocks is coming to be filming the reigning and returning defensive rookie and offensive rookie of the year.
Well, yes, because they're not supposed to be on the same team.
Yes, it's pretty ridiculous that this is going to be a different Hard Knocks, because a lot of the Hard Knocks are down and out teams, everyone fighting, starters are in question. The Jets are a pretty established team outside I think the real story is going to be the offensive line. And it will be interesting to see Mekhi Becton and his mental challenges. It'll be interesting to see Vera Tucker and how he comes back, Dwayne Brown and his shoulder. That's going to be my storylines. Is going to be our offensive line.
What's Max Mitchell going to do?
Max Mitchell going to do
for a stint.
All of the NFL pro depth that is there to push every single starter. And some of those guys are going to get cut that I think Joe Douglas signed for a year deal, but they're pros, you know? So it's going to be interesting. We're going to have, what's his name? Kuntz? The tight end we picked. I think that's it. I think it's like Kuntz or something like that.
I can't remember right now off the top of my head. I feel like you were very much disparaging him.
I think it's something very obscene that we could say now. But it will be interesting. It'll be interesting to see Sauce Gardner and his personality with DJ Reed and all those types of things. So I'm not mad about it. I'm not. What'd you say?
It'll be a ton of fun.
Yeah, I'm not mad about it, but we'll see.
No, you're right.
It's Kuntz, right?
It's probably Kuntz, but Kuntz. It's
Kuntz. Good thing.
Yeah, from ODU. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Old Dominion kid. Athletics off the charts, apparently. So we'll see what he becomes. Dave, who do you think is going to be a standout on the show?
Sauce. Sauce is going to have a lot of screen time. He's going to have a damn good amount of screen time. Him and A-Rod are going to have a lot of screen time. And they're definitely going to be standouts. There's going to be things from there for them. Dark horse-wise, actually now looking at the draft class, I think the running back that we picked up, Izzy from Pittsburgh, mainly because I can't remember how to say his last name, so I'm going to say Izzy. Yep. But I think he might be able to stand out because, I mean, just his ability is insane. So to be able to have someone that's a home run hitter, as Joe Douglas likes to say, and I mean, he'll probably just be a lot of fun to talk to. All of our running backs seem to have a lot of great personality. So he might be a dark horse to really stand out.
I think a standout person from a storyline perspective is going to be Denzel Mims again, because Mims is going to be on the block all camp long. He is one undrafted wide receiver having a really good camp away from being cut, because so many people in front of him now. With Lizard and Davis essentially playing his position, you know, no one's dethroning Garrett Wilson. So you're looking at him as 1, 2, 3, 4. He's the fifth man. And there's always some undrafted kid that comes out and wows people that can return kicks and do things. So I think it's going to be real interesting to see what happens with Denzel Mims. And Denzel Mims is an absolute Jets fan favorite. For whatever reason, the Jets faithful loves him, and he's done nothing but fail. And it's fair. And, you know, I like Denzel Mims too, but he has quite literally done nothing but fail as a Jet. And so I'm rooting for him. I think we all are. It's going to be interesting. I think Quinnen Williams is going to surprise us with the personality. I think.
That's not a surprise.
But Quinnen and Quincy together are going to be fantastic. I think it's going to be on the show, the brothers doing what they do.
That is true. I completely overlooked that like a dummy. But Quinnen, I mean, we knew this kid was awesome when he sneezed and blessed himself.
Yeah.
Please, bless you. Thank you. Like that's we knew Quinnen was going to be great when he did that.
I mean, I hope the signing drama doesn't go into the filming of Hard Knocks.
Yes.
I want them to be signed. I don't want any of that extra drama because I don't want any nonsense of, well, look at the Jets. They're back to being a circus. They can't even re-sign a top. None of that dumb shit. So I'm excited for it. I'm still cautious because what can go wrong will go wrong. We are the Jets. But yeah, we'll see. It should be fun. Max, I'll be glued to Max every week.
HBO.
It's Max.
HBO Max.
I'm gonna watch it.
Screw them and their dumb name change.
I'm gonna watch Max with the little HBO circle in the middle of the A, so you know HBO's still involved. Fucking stupid. Why merge? Why make Cinemax a dominant one? No one cared about Skinemax.
I don't know.
Just want to watch softcore porn at 11. Like
I don't know.
All Cinemax's value was. HBO is the big one.
It's some weird stuff. That's a weird merger. I do want to bring up, while we're on sports, though, recently in the UFC, if you missed the recent card, find a way to watch it. It was absolutely fantastic. I believe there were like 4 or 5 first-round finishes in the card overall. And crazy. The main card had some ridiculous wars and upsets. Dricus du Plessis beat Robert Whittaker in the first round in a TKO, which is incredible. And we're going to have him versus Izzy for the middleweight belt, which I think that's going to be a fun fight.
Yes.
I think it's actually going to be a really good fight with how unorthodox du Plessis is. But, I mean, I think that was really, other than Volk, I think that was a talk of the card, the way that went. But Alexander Pantoja beat Brandon Moreno by decision. He controlled a good amount of fight, even though it was an absolute war. It was a fun as hell fight to watch. And I mean, I'm not happy Moreno lost. I love Moreno, as do a lot in the community.
I think Moreno gets it back.
He might be able to. I don't know if they're going to do the rematch. They could. I don't know if they will because they did so many with him and Figueiredo. But either way, I think Pantoja won some people over with his story. I don't know if you saw the interview after.
No, I didn't.
So he had in his post-fight interview, he said it himself that his mother raised him, and I can't remember if he said siblings or not, but his mother raised him all by himself. And then he said, "Are you proud of me now, Dad? Are you proud?" In the cage. It was a very emotional moment. It was actually pretty amazing.
Yeah.
But before I touch on Volk, I do want to touch on the other war that happened in the main card, which was Dan Hooker versus Jalen Turner, which, yet again, watch that fight. I'm not going to say who wins, but I will say that Dan Hooker actually got a broken arm and a broken orbital during that fight, and it went to a decision. So I'm going to tell you that incredible fight, but finally to round it off, Alexander Volkanovski, pound for pound number 1. He beat Yair Rodriguez in the 3rd round, I believe, TKO, and it was incredible. He dominated. He was able to nullify Yair's very good and very creative striking. Lots of ground and pound in the first 2 rounds. Then caught him in the 3rd, and his finish to that fight, because he stunned him and got him up on the cage, and his finishing ability to be able to not only hurt him up against the cage, but then drop him and then do some ground and pound. I'm telling you, you watch that, just the fluidity of his movements and everything he knew he had to do. Yes, it was beautiful. And if you watch that, you'll see why he is as good as he is and why it seems like he gets better every fight. It makes absolutely no sense how good this guy is.
Volk is on the absolute ascent, and he's not at his final form.
It doesn't feel like it.
Final form.
And he should be, but it doesn't feel like it. It feels like he's just going to come back better and better and better every time. I want him with the Islam rematch. I think, even though Islam won the fight, I think Volk can take him next time. He
crazy to think
he came out fan favorite after that fight. He really did. So there's a lot happening in the UFC. So
I want to quickly ask you, because we do have to probably get running on.
Yes.
It's gone on for, but Stipe versus John Jones. What do you think? What happens in that fight?
I'm going to go John right now, mainly because it's been a long time since Stipe has fought. I think that doesn't help, especially going up against someone like John Jones. But John Jones is going up against someone like Stipe, and I think Stipe is much more well-rounded and gone. And John Jones can't just go and just dominate wrestling Stipe. He can't just do that. It's going to be a much more well-rounded a fight where they actually have to pick each other apart.
Yep.
So I think it's going to be a damn good fight. We'll see how it all turns out, but it's going to be a big one. It's going to be a really, really big one. But I do think John Jones is going to be able to prevail. I would not be surprised if Stipe is able to win, though.
This is a much better matchup for Stipe than Ngannou is, because as much as John Jones does have knockout power, it's not Francis Ngannou's knockout power.
Yes.
So I don't think Stipe is going to be as vulnerable as he was with that Ngannou fight. Now, in Stipe's defense, he's been calling for a rematch for a year and a half.
Yes.
With Ngannou, and Ngannou just didn't want to fight him again. So that's a kind of or UFC didn't want to book it again.
Yeah. He's also going off injury after injury after injury. So.
Yeah, so it's kind of, there's all that going on. This is not a good matchup for John Jones in a lot of ways, because Stipe is a foil to a lot of the things that John Jones likes to do. Like you said, he can't out wrestle him, because I do think Stipe is arguably a better wrestler.
Or if he's a better wrestler, but he's good enough that he can't just
arguably
just dominant.
And it all depends. Honestly, whoever has control will have the advantage. They're both that good at wrestling. I think John Jones is a better striker, and that's where he's going to have to win. And his length is certainly going to be to his benefit. But I mean, Stipe's been a heavyweight his whole career.
Yep.
And there is something to be said. Like, Stipe is a much better fighter than Cyril Gane. I'm sorry. Stipe beats the hell out of Gane. Stipe beats the hell out of a Curtis Blades. Stipe, like, the only person that Stipe loses to is Ngannou, and now possibly John Bones Jones. So, does Stipe retire after this fight? Win, loss, or draw?
I think so. He's been in the game a long time.
A good swan song regardless.
Exactly. Yeah, I think he'll retire, and it's understandable, and it'll be great. It's just going to have a Hall of Fame career either way. And I know that we really should touch on it really, really quickly before we go. But Tyson Fury versus Francis Ngannou has been booked, which Fury is going to dominate this fight. He should, by all accounts. But big ups to Francis Ngannou. He kind of got what he wanted. He got the big deal at PFL, was able to get his opponents the money that he thinks they deserve. I think they get $1 million no matter what.
Yep.
And now he gets his big fight with Tyson Fury. So Francis Ngannou,
set for life.
Yeah, Francis Ngannou got exactly what he wanted out of it, and good for him, man. Good for him. I was actually kind of worried about what was going to happen with him.
Let's be honest, Tyson Fury is not going to knock out Francis Ngannou, even though he can. Tyson Fury is not going to actually hit Francis Ngannou, and Francis Ngannou is not going to actually hit Tyson Fury. Okay, like, we're going to be honest here. This is going to go to a decision. They are not going to, neither one of them are going to actually try to hurt the other guy. They're going to hurt each other just by fighting. But they're both in it to make money. They're both in it to make it entertaining. And we've seen Tyson Fury get rocked in his most recent fight, where we thought, I think everyone
Not the most recent. No, the first Deontay Wilder fight.
Even the most recent one, Deontay Wilder.
He did not the same though. Not the same.
I thought
that first one, it was a damn near 10 count. He was gone.
It was close. Yeah, but the bottom line is, we've always seen this man get rocked, and I don't think Francis Ngannou hits harder than Deontay Wilder. I really don't.
I don't think so.
I think
it's
Deontay
close.
Wilder is
it's
one
close,
of the hardest hitters in all of boxing, like ever. Like, so, I don't think that there's a chance, even if Francis is trying, even if he does land that one lucky strike, not knocking out Tyson Fury. So, I mean, yeah, like you said, good for Ngannou. It's going to go the length. Yeah, just the reality of these things. It's going to go the length. Ngannou's going to look exhausted by round 5 or 6, because boxing is a completely different animal than UFC. So, I mean, it's going to make money. I'll probably stream it somewhere. I'm not paying for it.
I might pay for it. I might pay for this one.
Then I will steal your paying. I will jump and piggyback on
if you can. I don't know if it'll be in that kind of distribution, but either way,
we'll figure it out. I will watch it somehow, but I don't want to pay for it, because I mean, this is gonna be Conor versus Floyd again, where Floyd allows him to hang around, and the UFC guy shows he cannot box. Like, that's what it's gonna be. Okay. All right. So anyway, thank you everyone for listening. I hope you enjoyed us rant and rave about our stuff. Like I said, there's a good chance we get a bonus episode this week with our guest that we were supposed to have tonight. So I'm excited about that. If you like what you heard, like, share, follow, subscribe, rate 5 stars on Spotify and iTunes. Spread this word of mouth. Go look for us on the socials at the Alex Cuesta Show. Dave, anything else before we run away?
No. All good. Hope everyone had a fun time with us talking about just anything and everything.
Yes. And we'll be back hopefully soon. And then again next week. All right, everyone. So long, y'all.